Um, the main thing with the RAD guns is that it's an air-driven tool versus electric. So I've just hooked up into your airline here. This basket, air goes through this basket, regulate the air by this pressure regulator. This basket basically takes the place for the hydraulics as this pump. Thing though is that on a site you're going to have an air compressor, you're going to have access to air. A lot of people who I first get to know them, get to demo some tools, show them what they might use, might need. They'll say, oh, we got an air compressor. And it might be a 10-gallon, small little 5 CFM compressor. I'll hook a RAD gun up to it. It sucks so much volume, you might get about this much before you drain the air. Like you have to have 25 CFM rolling through usually a 185 tow behind compressor on a job site. You could run 2 RAD guns off a 185 compressor all day long. Regulate your pressure on your PSI right here, your air pressure, and that'll give you your torque. So the same exact concept as setting the pressure on your pump, your hydraulic pump, and then your output is this tool. So there are various sizes of RAD guns, just like there's various sizes of these tools. I know it's a little bit, we were talking, what was your name?
Misha.
Okay, so we were talking about why is it that your low output, I guess the question was, how you're setting your pressure on your pump, it's either 0 to 10,000 every single time. The variable here is the size of the tool that you're using is the output. Same thing with the RAD gun. 20 psi in air pressure is 20 psi. 30 is 30, all the way up to 90, 100 is the same pressure. But this chart right here, zip tied to this basket, is for this tool. There are much smaller RAD guns and there are much bigger RAD guns. This is a good size, typical one that you guys would see that would go from 400 foot-pounds up to about 1,800 foot-pounds. So that'd cover quite a bit of stuff that you guys would be doing. Once you plug your air in, goes through to your regulator. It's got a little oiler on here. Probably 99% of any kind of RAD gun problems stem from water in the air, and the oilers being turned off. I did this training last week with some guys who were adjusting the pressure by this right here on the oiler. So they had turned their oiler off, or their oiler was just free flowing of oil, and they weren't even touching this T-handle up here, and they were torquing bolts. So that's why we do these trainings, to make sure that you guys get the concept of the tools. This is a continuously spinning gun. It's just like literally like your Metabo drill at home. I mean, it's a little more expensive than that, but it's pulling trigger, continuously going. If you want to go the opposite way, there's a little trigger down here that goes the other way. So, same thing as well with the reaction, just like the hydraulics. You have to hit on the hydraulics against the next nut to hold the load, the detorque or torque. You see this little arm right here. This arm will hit against the next nut, or the nut over on the other side, and take the load so that you can torque and detorque. So, first things first, when you're using these, forget about everything, don't grab onto these. So that'll hurt. It's just, that's your reaction, that's what's taking all the load. Get used to holding the barrel and holding this handle so that you're not grabbing this thing.